As we now know, on old medieval maps, the geography of Africa and the Middle East was depicted quite differently, with rivers flowing in ways that are no longer the same, and in some cases only dry riverbeds remain today. The territory is full of cities and settlements. No wonder God Yahweh landed on Mount Harif with noise and smoke from his ship, or in other words, Sinai, because otherwise he would have landed in some city or settlement. Let's zoom in on a fragment of such a map in the Sahara region, and we see that cities were located not only on the coast but also in the center of what would become the desert. Almost all cartographers of that time depicted such maps. Modern science does not comment on this and considers it to be fiction or mistakes based on inaccurate travelers' stories. In the historical picture, this simply could not have happened. But thousands of years ago maybe, when the climate in northern Africa was different, there was a lot of rain, rivers flowed, forests grew, and the savanna was where the endless sands are now. It is believed that a different, wetter climate existed in northern Africa 3,000 to 5,000 years ago, and the desert covered a much smaller area, although on maps from the early Middle Ages, these deserts do not exist at all. According to modern history, the boundaries of Africa's natural zones in the past and today are not very different, but judging by old maps, the differences are simply incredible. There is no answer as to why everything changed. It's also unclear where so much sand came from. Scientists claim that these are the result of mountain rocks breaking down. Modern researchers put forward several theories about the appearance of sand in deserts. One theory is that a planetary cataclysm in the 17th century which caused a flood threw sand from the ocean floor onto the continent. Another theory is that large-scale mineral extraction was organized on the planet in the 18th century on a titanic scale. Sand is what was left after the enrichment complexes. This is also shown by the planet being covered in spoil heaps up to 3 kilometers high. One theory suggests sand is residue from Celanese combusted during tectonic shifts in a planetary catastrophe, explaining the abundance of both water and sand. Another theory claims sand is debris from the destroyed moon, Fata, with parts falling into oceans, some becoming sand and some turning to clay that fell from the sky until the late 19th century. These are not all the theories, and they may be the results of the same cataclysm, and as we can see, they do not fit into the official history at all. The dried-up rivers speak of the once abundant climate in the Sahara. Here are a few examples. East of the Nile, there's a dried-up river marked as Ouenamu in Algeria. It starts from Lake Naga, which means lost in Arabic. This place is in the center of the Sahara, and this area is called the New Valley on the border of Libya and Egypt. You can clearly see the channels and floodplains of ancient rivers everywhere. Such dried-up rivers in the Sahara are called Wadi, most likely from the Russian word voda, meaning water. From the ground, they look like this, but from airplanes, Wadi appear as a huge dried-up river system. It should also be noted that some traces were formed by rainwater flows and have nothing to do with ancient rivers. You could say these are canyons with traces of water flows. Nowadays, floodplains are filled with water only after heavy rains. It does rain in the desert too, but very rarely. With the help of satellite radar observations, it was established that in the west of the Sahara there was a powerful, full-flowing river system called the Taman Rased River, which carried its waters to the Atlantic. The approximate length of the river and its tributaries is estimated at 500 kilometers. For comparison, it is comparable to such rivers as the Lena, Volga, Amur, and Don. Officially, the remnants of this river system still existed about 2,000 years ago, and the process of drying up began around 5,000 years ago. Nowadays, in this part of Africa, there are the Senegal and Niger rivers, and even they are hard to call full-flowing. The ancient river Taman Rased flowed through the territory of modern-day Mauritania, but all that remains of the ancient river are wadis, whose beds fill only during heavy rains. The wadi is also called Taman Rased, but it's just a shadow of its once full-flowing predecessor. The scale just isn't the same anymore. The Nile River once had a now dried up left tributary, the Yellow Nile, and this has also been reliably established. Subtitles. Judging by medieval maps, the climate wasn't so arid until quite recently. There used to be more rain. Therefore, dams and barrages were built on these wadis to fill the river's floodplain with water, raise water levels, or reduce the effects of flooding after rains. These are earth dams, and some of them are not ancient, they were built recently. It is also known that a lot of water can fall in the Sahara, and heavy rainfall can lead to catastrophic destruction. Just remember the flood in Libya in 2023. Areas with bare sand and soil always suffer from floods. Where there is vegetation and forests, such things happen very rarely. But in the Sahara, there are also truly ancient dams. About 40 kilometers southeast of Cairo, near the city of Helwan, are the ruins of the Sa'at el-Kafara Dam. This is a huge embankment dam, built, according to historians, about 3,700 years ago. The dam is located in Wadi al-Garawi, in one of the many dry floodplains east of the Nile Valley. The dam was originally 113 meters long, 100 meters wide at the base, and 56 meters wide at the crest. Made of earth lined with blocks, only the edges on both sides of the wadi remain today. The central part was washed away during a period of flooding, leaving a gap of about 60 meters. This dam was discovered at the end of the 19th century by the German archaeologist Georg Schweinfurt. It is believed that the Sa'at el-Kafara Dam was built not for irrigation but to combat catastrophic floods. The scale of construction of this structure is comparable to that of an Egyptian pyramid. People rarely mention this dam and little information is available about it. Such a grand construction could have been accomplished by a densely populated area with a large number of inhabitants and available resources, as shown by ancient maps. However, some large-scale floods still destroyed this dam, possibly during a period of global catastrophe that changed the Sahara and turned it into a desert. Also, if we look at the Sinai Peninsula, we will see a picture of nature with an even wetter climate in the past. Let's take a look at what can be seen in satellite images, and it lies, so to speak, in plain sight. Right here, at the tip of the Sinai Peninsula, this used to be a river. It flowed completely like this. All of this used to be rivers. This was an absolutely full-flowing region that has now turned into a desert. Here, for example, is a map from 1688 Frederick David. As we can see right here, this peninsula doesn't exist, the one that formed here, but everything is covered with cities. The whole peninsula is full of rivers and lakes, and on other maps you can see that it's all lush and green. On the modern map, it's a desert. There are no rivers, only remnants of rivers. Everything dried up over 200 years. Here too, look at the number of cities, rivers and lakes. No deserts at all. What's interesting is that in Sharm el-Sheikh, it's located in the bed of an old river. Here's the riverbed, and right here houses are built now. There's one dam, two dams. As we go higher, we see another dam. This one's made of concrete. The concrete here is done properly. It starts here, rises, and then lowers. They used old materials. Why? Apparently there was a diversion here. And it flowed out here, meaning it was blocked off here. As we go higher, there's another dam. This is the bed of an ancient river, all covered with dams. Here they raised the water. It stood here. Then there's another dam. We see a reservoir here. Basically, a huge reservoir was blocked off. As we go up, there's another dam, so there's another reservoir here. In fact, all of this was cut through by water. If we go from here, for example, along the riverbed, along one of them, just imagine how much water used to flow here. Once, not so long ago, quite recently, we would be traveling for tens or even hundreds of kilometers. For example, if we start moving up from the hub, we will see again a dam, About 250 meters long here are high voltage power lines, again a dam. All of this was filled with water, again a dam. So the dam is 250 meters long and this is about 500 meters. The dam is 500 meters long, half a kilometer wide, again a dam. Here are also remnants of a dam, apparently older ones. Of course, to understand which of these are prehistoric dams and which were built in our time, you need to investigate on site, study documents, conduct archaeological research, as well as calculate the amount of work done and propose theories. So, let's conclude that not long ago, by historical standards, today's deserts were once covered with rivers, forests, fields, animals, many ancient cities, and people living in them. The climate has been getting more humid lately, and perhaps in the foreseeable future, the beds of ancient rivers will fill up again.